This is the story of how we spent 1 year on the road trip of a lifetime driving from Alaska to Argentina. We had up-close encounters with grizzlies and whales, got scammed in Mexico, and had our van searched by the military. We also met a ton of incredibly kind people, and there was that one time where I won $10,000 in a random contest along the way. It all started with us shipping Vinny, our European camper van, from Europe to Canada. We picked him up on the east coast of Canada and began driving up towards Alaska. After 2 years of COVID and lockdown restrictions, we were just itching for a really big adventure. We visited the Canadian side of Niagara Falls and met up with 2 of our Canadian viewers who introduced us to Canadian poutine and even gave us a Canadian welcome package. Maple syrup cookies, local beers, and, fortunately for us, no bears.
Oh my god, do you see that? It's 2 baby moose!
But we did spot this mama moose and her 2 babies out on her evening stroll. We didn't have much of a plan heading into this trip. We were figuring everything out as we went, sleeping in our van in beautiful spots that we found along the way. Good morning, guys, from this incredible spot in the desert.
Good morning. I just can't believe this beautiful spot here next to the river.
Good morning from the Real Canadian Superstore parking lot. We knew the roads on this trip were going to be tough. That is why most people who try to drive from Alaska to Argentina do it in a rugged 4x4. Whereas Vinny, before this trip, had never even seen an unpaved road in his life. 2.5 weeks into the trip, we had engine trouble and our van broke down in the city of Regina, Canada. We must not have pronounced that very well in our videos because a lot of you thought we were in Vagina. We spent the next 18 days living in our broken van in the parking lot of this Ford dealership, waiting for replacement parts to be shipped in from Europe, while we battled a heat wave and at one point
I just got a tornado warning. Take cover immediately if threatening weather approaches.
had to run from a tornado. Some of you guys thought we were crazy for even attempting to drive from Alaska to Argentina. And now, for the first time, we started questioning whether this was actually a good idea. But there were definitely some silver linings. These 2 lovely Canadians, Matt and Jody, took us out fishing on their boat and helped Naick catch his first ever fish.
First fish!
First fish! Bam!
Do not put your fingers in his mouth.
And then, after 18 long days,
Let's go!
we could at last continue driving towards Alaska. And at this point, we were really heading into the wild. Into the Rocky Mountains. What the actual heck?
Just really grateful to be here. This beautiful landscape.
Being here gave us that sense of freedom that we had been chasing. Our journey from Alaska to Argentina would either be the absolute best or absolute worst decision of our lives. From the Rockies onwards, things only got better. It's a bear! Guys, this is amazing! And better. Oh my god. Guys, that's a wolf.
Amazing. I've never seen a wolf in a while.
As we went further north and entered the last Canadian province before the Alaskan border. This is like wilderness. It's wild, it's remote, there's nothing here. There's no houses, there's no people, there's no cell phone reception, no nothing. The Yukon is larger than the state of California, but there are only 40,000 people living here. In fact, there's more moose than people. We did also meet some humans up here. This is Chris and Marianne, 2 fellow YouTubers who were also visiting Alaska. We immediately bonded over our love for YouTube, traveling, long drives, and bad internet. Finally, we reached the last Canadian town before the Alaskan border. This town is famous for this, the sour toe cocktail. It's a shot of bourbon that has an actual dead human toe in it. Now you must be thinking, you can't be serious, but I am.
We entered here. The guys are here for the toe.
This toe was amputated off someone's foot after a bad case of frostbite. Sometimes you have to go outside the comfort zone.
You can drink it fast. You can drink it slow. But your lips must touch this gnarly toe.
so much.
Scrub it off. Scrub away the toe. The next day, we put our van on this tiny river barge that takes you to the Alaskan border. After driving 6,000 miles across Canada, we had arrived in Alaska, the starting point of our 30,000-mile journey towards Argentina. We explored some of Alaska's most beautiful national parks.
Look what I found here. You think this is bear poo or moose poo or something? It was just a peanut butter cookie.
And took a boat trip through the Alaskan fjords, bringing us face to face with massive glaciers and incredible wildlife. It feels like we've come so far already, and we have, but it's only beginning. It wasn't all fun and games though. The roads up north gifted us a crack in our windshield and several leaks in our water installation. One morning, we woke up to an email from our biggest freelancing clients saying that they were unexpectedly ending our work project. This meant we just lost over half of our monthly income overnight, which made us really nervous to continue this long trip. But we were determined to find a way to pay for it because we knew 80-year-old Naick and Kim would someday look back at this trip and think, damn, that was the journey of a lifetime. Our favorite thing about Alaska was the time we got to spend with locals. We first met up with Mary, one of our subscribers, who took us axe throwing. We assume this is a skill all Alaskans learn in kindergarten. I pretended to be really horrible at it, so Naick wouldn't feel bad about his skills. We also by chance met some locals who taught us how to fish for Alaskan salmon.
People are really, really kind and helpful and generous.
You got one? Oh.
That was a good
Oh, you lost it! So we took our time learning to fish.
Wow, so excited.
After the salmon, Naick wanted to try fishing for something bigger, like halibut. A one-day fishing trip for those bad boys costs more than $700 US. Instead, we spent 4 days trying to DIY fish for halibut from the beach. Guys, we're stuck in the sand. Oh. We can't back out of this. What could have been a disaster in a remote spot like this turned into the highlight of our time in Alaska, thanks to this kind stranger, Dan. Dan pulled us out of the sand with his truck and then invited us over for a barbecue. Turns out, Dan owns a boat and was taking his friends halibut fishing in the morning. He invited us to join, and of course we said yes.
Yeah. Oh, it's a nice one. Woo! God. Stop. Oh, Kim, that is a big one. Let's hold the weight. Hold the weight. Good work, guys.
In the end.
Halibut in the tank.
Thank you. Turns out, not being able to afford that fancy halibut fishing trip had led us to something way more memorable. And then it was time to officially start the longest road trip on the face of the planet.
We're now driving on the Pan-American Highway.
30,000 miles across North America, Central America, and South America, driving until the southernmost tip of Argentina. We figured it would take us about a year to drive all the way down. I mean, how hard could it really be? The first leg of the journey took us back down through Canada. We did 40 hours of driving in 4 days. Along the way, we saw countless bears. Now it is really super
Just gonna close the windows, it's just too scary. My heart's pounding.
That's a forest fire. We're literally driving right towards it. We took the ferry to Vancouver Island, where we met up again with Chris and Marianne. On Vancouver Island, we also met Clint and Linda, two locals who showed us around all their favorite spots on the island.
Cheers.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you for having us.
All the best in your future travels.
We resumed the journey south and crossed the border into the continental US.
made it into the US. Woohoo!
Little did we know that we were going to get ourselves into big trouble in the US. The plan was simple enough. First, we were going to drive down the Pacific coast to get to LA, where we would attend a YouTube conference. And from there, we'd make a loop towards the east, visiting the Grand Canyon and some national parks in Utah. So, we started from Seattle. We're not in Alaska anymore, people. We're in a proper city with skyscrapers and traffic and no bears. The drive down the coast on Highway 101 was one of the most beautiful drives we had ever done. We went crab fishing in Oregon and met a bunch of kind strangers who offered to share their bait with us and gave us tips on how to fish for crab. Naick also learned what not to do when you catch a crab. Does it hurt? Mm-hmm. Are you okay? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then we found a stunning park up.
Time to put these babies in the hot tub.
To feast on our catch and spend the night. Once we got to LA, we attended the YouTube conference. We learned lots of things about YouTube during the day and participated in a Uno competition in the evening. I hadn't played Uno since I was a little girl, and there were over 300 people participating in the tournament. Somehow, I won every game I played that evening. Round after round after round, until I'd made it all the way into the grand finale. At that point, everyone in the room was watching us play the final game of the tournament, and I kind of felt like a noob playing a high-stakes poker game in Vegas or something. By some miracle, I won the tournament and the cash prize that comes with it. Having just lost half of our monthly income, it is impossible to describe how good that felt. These are fake $100 bills, but I won all this money. Like, I won $10,000. After spending some time in LA, we were itching to get out of the city again, so we drove into the wide open Mojave Desert.
You gotta have some alcohol. I didn't make up the rules, but I just gotta follow them.
We didn't realize it at the time, but these were actually the last moments of van life on easy mode that we would get in the US. Our problem started with a pretty dumb mistake that we made. Like most people visiting the US, we really wanted to see the famous Grand Canyon, but without all the crowds. We'd found a park up on the north side where we were pretty much guaranteed to have the Grand Canyon all to ourselves. To get there, we drove so far off the grid in Arizona that we were hours, many hours, from the nearest town with no cell reception and no help around. It's so quiet out here, and except for the occasional cow, there is really nothing or nobody here. Except for us. This would have been a great plan, had it not been that we entered the wrong coordinates into our GPS. We accidentally ended up on a dangerous trail that was 4x4 only.
We're not on the right location. We're not going in the right direction.
This could have gone horribly wrong had we continued. We thought we'd gotten out of the situation with no big issues, but then...
Check engine light just came on.
So we can't switch the engine off because we might not be able to get it back on. And right now, we do not have cell phone reception. We spent the whole night driving to Las Vegas for help, but the Ford dealership didn't want to work on our European vehicle. Instead, they just advised us to try swapping out a few filters and see what happens. So we had to order parts from Europe again and spent another week waiting for those to get to the US. Once we finally got on the road again, we really hoped we wouldn't have any more issues with Vinny. Before this trip, our van had always been super reliable. Were we just pushing it too hard? Was it even going to make it down to Argentina?
These views are just unreal.
Fortunately, the next few days gave us exactly what we had dreamed this big trip from Alaska to Argentina would be. We hiked Zion National Park, found ourselves dangling off the side of an icy cliff with a 1,000-foot drop right below our feet.
I feel like I can run through a wall now.
And the next morning, we woke up to...
What is this? This was not here last night. My toes are cold.
And then, a few days before Christmas, we finally got to see the world-famous Grand Canyon. We were planning to celebrate Christmas with just the two of us, but then, to top it all off, these kind strangers invited us to join their family's Christmas party. It was only a 20-hour drive from where we were, so of course we went. We didn't get to spend this Christmas with our family in Belgium, but these people made us feel like we were a part of their family.
By far, one of the best Christmases ever.
These kinds of experiences were exactly why we wanted to drive from Alaska to Argentina. If you told us in this moment that just a few short days later we'd be ready to quit, we never would have believed you. So the news is not good.
The fuel pump that's in a diesel tank that pumps up the fuel towards the engine is broken now. So we're gonna have to order a new fuel pump back in Belgium, have it shipped over here.
We were doing our best to stay optimistic. You're not going to believe what we woke up to. And make the most of this situation. In 3 weeks from now, our US visa runs out. We're not sure if we're gonna be able to make it out of the US before that date. The parts we needed were on their way with FedEx, but
we expect a delay. This package presents a second delay.
After 11 days living in this parking lot. Got it?
You got it.
The next day, our mechanic couldn't come into work because of a snowstorm. And the day after that,
He can't come into work today because there was a major rock slide. Nobody's getting through.
Meanwhile, time just kept ticking away on our US visas. The whole reason we're doing this trip is because we believe that people can do whatever they want as long as they try their best and just don't give up. And I don't know, sometimes it just feels like maybe in this particular case, that's not how it works.
They've managed to install the parts in Vinny. One issue that we have now is that the heater inside the van is just not working anymore. It's also hooked up to the diesel pump that they switched out, so there might be an issue with that. I'm not trying to find out what's wrong with it. I just can't believe this.
Turn the engine on, and the first thing it says, an error code for brake pads. So we're driving back to the garage.
After 15 days, I'm out this again. Like right now, I just want to go home.
Me too.
I just want to take an airplane and go home and...
The next day, we went for a second opinion on our brakes issue. They said one of the sensors wasn't connected, and they reconnected it, and now there are no more error codes on our dashboard.
We're driving, folks, we're driving, we're back on the road. Vinny! Feeling a little bit emotional now almost.
To celebrate, we went cross-country skiing. It doesn't matter how many times you fall.
It's how many times you get back up, people.
And then we could finally make our way towards the Mexican border right before our US visas ran out. A lot of people were telling us that going to Mexico was a very bad idea. But we thought it was a great idea. Mexican Border Patrol asked us to pay $300 to get the van into Mexico. Are we being solicited for a bribe? Turns out they just didn't want to register Vinny as a camper van, which would be a lot cheaper. It took a good hour to convince them, but eventually we made it across the border without paying the $300. The plan for Mexico is to drive across the entire country, coast to coast, from Baja California to the Caribbean Sea. It's so big.
Can't believe I'm this close to a whale.
Oh. Who needs a luxury all-inclusive resort when you can just pay $10 and get this view when you wake up?
Happy birthday to
We got to celebrate Naick's birthday with our friends Chris and Marianne and Ben and Cheska on this stunning beach. Sometimes, when you think of your best travel memories, it's the moments that you get to really connect with other people. This would be the last time we'd see these guys for at least a year, because we were all driving in different directions from here on out. From Baja, we took the ferry to mainland Mexico.
¿Me permites una revisión a tu vehículo?
Sí, sí.
Sí, claro.
¿Estás de vacaciones?
Ah, sí.
¿No es nomás la guantera?
Sí.
Ok, gracias.
Gracias.
We got drunk on tequila in the town of Tequila and made more friends along the way.
Cheers.
We were just wondering, you all came here, retired here, have these beautiful homes here. How do you feel about the safety in Mexico?
No one's given me a reason to be afraid.
Yeah.
At all.
You just gotta be aware, right?
Until one night, cop car outside.
No abrirle prácticamente a nadie. Solamente que ven así luces, tendrá teléfono para que le dejemos un número para la policía local.
¿No es muy seguro aquí o?
Pues relativamente.
We're not easily scared. Now I'm stressed. Except when the cops tell us that we should be. We hardly slept that night and got out of there as soon as we could in the morning. At this point, I thought it would be a good idea for me to do a little solo trip with the van. It was not a good idea. I got a few mechanics to help me and they told me the throttle body on the car was broken. They told me that Mexican parts should actually fit our European van.
Okay, estoy aquí con mis nuevos amigos.
These guys were kind enough to drive me around their city for days looking for the right part for the van. They were optimistic and nice and cracking jokes the entire time. It helped me realize that inside every negative, there is also always a positive. I ended up paying $300 for a second-hand part that I wasn't sure would actually fit. But before we could even put it in the car, the van completely broke down. Turns out our entire exhaust system needed replacing. And that throttle body that we just bought, that was a scam. It didn't work and they didn't want to give me my money back.
We have a special problem-solving method. Beer.
After 4 weeks of having the van in the shop and almost $4,000, we finally got to resume the journey. We continued towards the Caribbean and drove into the jungle where we spotted howler monkeys and climbed Mayan ruins. And then we finally reached the Caribbean coast of Mexico.
I think I've died and gone to heaven.
Which brings us to today.
There we go. AdBlue malfunction. Service required. Yes, we're on our way to the mechanic again.
The good news is they gave us the car back pretty much straight away. The bad news, there's a problem again in our exhaust system. There's a sensor that has broken and that is going to take about a week to get the part.
I think this is not the worst spot to wait here for a week, and we'll be out here soon now.
That took a while. They just sent us a message that today they got the part in. They're gonna put the sensor in today, and they told us that tomorrow we can go and pick up the van, and maybe if we're lucky, like the Belize border is only a few miles from here. Maybe tomorrow we can continue onwards to Belize. Bye-bye, Vinny. The next day, Ford sent us a message saying they needed one extra day. And another one after that. And another one. And that is now 2.5 weeks ago.
3.5 weeks ago.
3.5 weeks ago.
But the problem still isn't fixed. Like the error code's still there. The warning message is still there.
They also admit that they haven't faced this type of issue almost ever before. Yeah. There isn't another garage we can take him to around here. So we decided to just come to the garage and have a look at the car.
I actually spent hours studying how this system that's broken in the van works. I watched a bunch of videos, read a bunch of manuals and articles about what could be wrong with the system.
So we asked them to test drive the van ourselves.
We have the scanner and some software where we can read and reset a bunch of parameters and... Come on, Vinny.
It might look silly for us to even try this, but at this point we had spent so much of our time looking up manuals, staring at graphs and YouTube videos that we figured we probably had a better idea of how the exhaust system worked than the guys at Ford. 15 minutes into our test drive, we came across one big red flashing number. This value was supposed to be between 15 and 50%, and ours was minus 18.
Right, we seem to have found the problem. Luckily, this guy has a video and he had exactly the same problem, so we're gonna try reset the parameters and then I'm gonna force a cleaning cycle, and that's what the guy did in the video, and that solved all his problems. So
You want to know what the value is right now?
what is it?
It's 23%!
Woo!
Yes!
We did it!
We fixed it! Is it?
The engine warning light went out, the AdBlue light went out. I think we fixed it. Oh my god. After almost 2 months.
We fixed it! You fixed this! Yes!
Okay, so we just went back to Ford and we asked them, do you want to know how you fixed it? And they were like, no.
We're crossing the border, we're continuing south towards Belize, making progress to head towards Argentina.
This is the border!
We made it to Belize, finally. Well guys, as it turns out, life doesn't always give you what you want. Sometimes it gives you exactly what you need.